Mr. Speaker, honorable members are advised that on Monday, March 23rd, 2020, and Friday, May 22nd, 2020, the Ministry of Finance successfully executed a $20 million and a $150 million credit facility, respectively. Therefore, in accordance with Section 2(3) of the Bermuda Loans Act 1978, I rise this morning to inform this Honorable House of the execution of these borrowing transactions pursuant to the requirements of the Act. Honorable members will recall that on April 15th, the government held a press conference updating the general public on the impact of COVID-19 on the Bermuda economy and the measures taken and will be taken to support the local economy as a result of the pandemic. During this press conference, I notified the public of the following. The debt ceiling was raised by $150 million to $2.9 billion at the final sitting of the House of Assembly, and at that time, Bermuda's net debt stood at $2.68 billion, leaving the government with $219.6 million of borrowing capacity. The Ministry of Finance executed a $20 million credit facility with a local financial institution and was in the process of finalizing another $150 million facility with another local financial institution. The increased borrowing capacity with current cash reserves was to assist the government in taking the appropriate actions to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 in the short term. Mr. Speaker, I can now advise honorable members that the Bermuda government has executed a $20 million one-year term loan facility agreement with Clarion Bank Limited and a $150 million loan facility agreement jointly with HSBC Bank of Bermuda Limited and Clarion Bank Limited, due to mature on September 17, 2020. The facilities were priced at 4% and 3.75% respectively, and it is encouraging that the two local financial institutions were supportive in providing government with its financing needs in these uncertain times. Mr. Speaker, it must be highlighted that the government has not borrowed a total of $170 million, but rather has facilities in place to borrow up to this amount. As with all credit facilities the government enters into, funds will only be drawn when absolutely necessary, and only funds that are drawn will be charged with interest. To date, I can confirm that the government has drawn the full $20 million from the Clarion facility and approximately $10 million from the $150 million joint facility. Currently, Bermuda's net debt stands at $2.71 billion, leaving the government with $189.6 million of borrowing capacity. Mr. Speaker, these two credit facilities are just one step the government is taking to ensure we have sufficient liquidity to offset the financial stability risks brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. As soon as is practicable, the government intends to refinance these short-term credit facilities by issuing long-term government debt in the global capital markets. The plan will be to not only refinance our credit facilities, but to also refinance the fiscal 2020-2021 deficit and strategically refinance current government bonds at a more favorable interest rate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.